There's a lot of legends here at Shanks Ferry, but almost all of them revolve around this white angel, this girl dressed in white. In one version, she commits suicide because she's left at the altar by her fiance. In another version, she's murdered by someone on her way to her wedding. Yet another version, she and her newlywed husband have an argument here in the vicinity of the tunnel, and he kills her. And yet another version of the story, her husband is killed here, perhaps murdered himself, and so her spirit just kind of lurks here looking for his lost body, his death, kind of mourning that spot for forever. So they all seem to revolve around somehow this newlywed girl, woman, and she's somehow met a tragic end in most versions of the story. Sometimes she's hung herself off of the arch here of the tunnel, and sometimes she's was murdered herself. I've had a few people message me with their own experiences here. One, a woman who rides horse, and she rides her horse all over, and she said her horse does not like this tunnel, and they've been through others in the area. For whatever reason, her horse doesn't like this. Someone else messaged me, but instead of seeing the girl in white, they did the ritual, and they saw like this golem-like creature kind of walk out and then sort of just stop in the middle of the tunnel and then just eyeball them. And then they, of course, just turn the car on and try to get out as quickly as possible, and that thing just kind of scurried off to the side. And he said neither of them said anything until they got a few miles away, and he just said, "Did you ever see The Lord of the Rings?" And he was like, "Yes." Was that Golem? And he's like, "I think it might have been." So I can only imagine what they saw. I've had a gentleman, a retired railroad engineer, Jack Ness, and he's reached out to me other times, even before I started writing about this, and he had some great railroad information he would fill in. I would talk about, about the Enola low grade or other things, and he had, and he would be able to fill in some pieces and some people that were involved. I wrote about the train accident just down about a mile or so away, and he had a lot of information, and he knew the person personally who was involved in the accident. So he's always been a really good source. And so he said that in 1974, when the line was still open until '89, the train hit this girl who had escaped from an insane asylum in Maryland. And she was wearing a white sheet, or maybe one of those hospital gowns, and she was wearing some moccasins, and the train hit her. Now, the engineers didn't know, the train wouldn't notice, but just the conductor happened to be in the caboose and just kind of standing there, probably getting some air, maybe smoking a cigarette, and looked out and noticed that they had hit someone, and there's this dead woman directly above where the Shanks Ferry tunnel is. So you park your car in the middle of the tunnel. The closer to midnight, the better. And you're going to turn your car off, and you put the keys on the roof, and then you have to walk around the car 3 times. And then you're supposed to grab your keys and sit in the car and just wait. And then if you've done the ceremony correctly, if you've walked around the car the right way, clockwise, counterclockwise, not sure, her ghost is going to appear. And sometimes it's in the form of a woman hanging from the arch. They're dead, with kind of the grisly scene, and sometimes her spirit just appears and approaches the car. And that's usually where people start to freak out, because there's been reports of when that happens, their car won't start, or headlights suddenly appear as well, coming up the road, and people were sure there weren't cars down here to begin with. And so, eventually, in most of these stories, the cars then eventually starts, and people just kind of hightail it out of here. And this is a rough road, so their car is probably never the same as they drive out of here as fast as possible. And so in some of the versions, you don't want to come alone, so bring your girl with you. And there's a chance that the man is going to pass out. People report hearing or smelling sulfur in the air when they're doing this ritual, and maybe that's what's causing the man to pass out. So you definitely just don't want to be here alone doing that by yourself if you're a male, because there seems to be some high probability of that happening. Just kind of focusing on like ghost stories and tales of adventure here in Lancaster, but a lot of it'll be, you know, Shanks Ferry centric here. I'll be talking about the girl in white there, that white angel ghost story, along with the dynamite factory, which is, I don't know, about a half mile from where we're sitting right here, where, you know, 11 men were killed when a dynamite factory exploded on June 9th, 1906 at, you know, 12:42, and of those 11 men, like 10 were just vaporized. So, you know, not an actual ghost story there, but kind of a grisly thing, and something definitely primed for some haunted area, you know, and I'll kind of explain where people can go and see that. So I'll be talking about some of those, you know, local scary stories and legends here in Lancaster, probably more in the southern end region is often my focus of research.